congrats to you guys on 500. Cheers to the next 500 more, boys.
Welcome inside episode 500 of the Locked On Senators podcast. Woo! I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. And not only is this a milestone for the show, but it's an Ottawa Senators game day as well. The Sens are hosting the Minnesota Wild, and that's only one of a ton of topics we have to get into today.
Ross, it's also a milestone game for Thomas Chabot, number 300. Officially, his Sens Central bump will come tonight. The Belleville Senators, they didn't have as much luck in their game yesterday, but good news is they're back at it today up against the Syracuse Crunch.
All that plus Tyler Boucher gets his first OHL goal. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Tuesday, February 22nd. And whether it's your 500th or first time listening to the show, welcome in, Pilsy. It's been quite a ride.
It has been a wild ride, but they say time flies when you're having fun, and it has been a blast to cover this team, to engage with you guys, to interview the players, the Sens Central citizens we've had. Like, Ross, thinking back to when we started this show, back in the basement of College of Sports Media, just doing it for fun, hoping to improve our skills, and now look at us here, episode 500. Just for a little context, guys, I was looking at our first very ever paycheck. $3 for an entire month's work. I can confidently say we've come a long way from that. We're doing a little bit better these days, thanks to the support of you guys and the Locked On Podcast Network. So it's just a blast to be here, and I'm so fired up for this episode.
What is your overwhelming memory looking back? Is there one that sticks out?
I mean, there's so many when you've done 500 episodes. I think I'll choose some memories that maybe current listeners might not know. Ross, our first taste of Big J journalism as a podcast. We went to Ricoh Coliseum to interview Sean Donovan, and we used cameras but didn't use the video and just had mics plugged in. We're all wearing suits, and he just meets us like in the back hallway of the concourse and is like, "Hey, are we doing this?" And we're like, "Yeah." And we're just a couple of amateurs with cameras that aren't pointed towards him because we're not recording the video, and we're all wearing suits asking him about which boys he likes. And Sean Donovan gave us a great interview. So there's been so many. And then you look at talking to Tim Stützle. We were one of the first English interviews he had after being drafted. Talking to Jake Sanderson, Tyler Boucher, who scored his first OHL goal. It's Thomas Chabot. It's been an absolute honor to be able to speak to all these people and to share our interviews with you guys.
Over 200 interviews so far. Lots
Man.
more to go, Pilsy. For me, it's how meticulous we were before we were on YouTube with editing. And we realized that maybe it was better to leave in the mistakes and have some fun with them rather. We used to listen back to the entire show and cut out ums, ahs, literally anything that was wasted space. So not only I think as our skill have improved of doing this as often as we have, but the amount of time, not wasted, but spent doing that, I would implore everyone, go back and listen to one episode from way back and listen to how tight everything is. I think it did help grow the following because there was no wasted time in the show. We'd get to bang, bang, bang and all that.
Now we got 20 minutes of wasted time for you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's about how often I talk in an episode. So yeah, that's fair enough, Pilsy. But enough about us, although we will finish by saying thank you for making Locked On Senators a part of your daily routine. It's been a ton of fun. Pilsy and I have had a blast, not only getting to build the show, but adding more exciting segments like the postcast, which you'll find tonight after the Sens host the Minnesota Wild, launching the YouTube channel. Great success there. If you haven't already, please go subscribe. It's about as much as you can help us out as well, supporting the show. I know lots of people are asking other ways they can do that. We're looking at finding a few other streams, but for now, if you go subscribe on YouTube, it goes a long way. Or if you listen in the car, go subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, and then if you hit the 5-star rating, it does help us as well. The Sens are getting some help back as well tonight, Pillsy. You mentioned Thomas Chabot, game number 300. The Sens Central bump can officially commence, and he's back with an old partner tonight.
Who better to return with than Artem Zub? Finally, we get that top pair, defense pair.
Number 2 on the second month, 22nd day of 2022. It's going to be a big night for Artem Zub.
Yeah, with number 72, if you want to toss another one in there too. So this is going to be a good game up against the Minnesota Wild. But before we preview the game, Ross, this practice had a lot of interesting nuggets attached to it as well. Let's start with the fun story right off the bat, though. And this is before the practice. The Senators now know who their emergency goalie will be if it comes down to it, because Brady Tkachuk suited up, and he's now the 4th person to wear Anton Forsberg's gear. Forsberg himself. We all saw Artem Anisimov in the locker room that one game. Gustafsson had to wear them for warm-ups because he had an equipment issue because he got called up so quickly, much like he did today. And now Brady too. And hey, Brady's form didn't look too bad out there. He had a couple saves. I feel like he's the type of goalie, weird stand-up style, but he'll do anything to make a save.
You do not want to crash the crease if Brady Tkachuk is playing goal.
You're getting the worst of that, yeah.
I'll tell you that for free. I'm pulling up, I'm grabbing the photos right now, Pillsy, but that was him going out of his way on family day. Zach Burke, the goalie coach for the Ottawa Senators, brought his kids out, and so they got to shoot on Brady Tkachuk. That is about as cool as it gets, eh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But Zach Burke's thinking like, man, this is supposed to be my day off. Now look at all the work we got to do on your form, Brady. Like your butterfly not looking too good. You got to cut down the angle better. And he probably just went into work mode right after. Like, Brady, we're going to look at video when you're done, and we're going to improve some stuff here.
I don't know if I trust him as the emergency backup goalie. But if you're watching on YouTube, there is the photo evidence of Brady Tkachuk rocking the goalie gear. He is a mammoth in goal, though. I'll give him that.
Big dude. Yeah, big dude. And I love someone zoomed in on him on the ice with the mask, and he's just got the biggest smile on his face. That's why we love Brady. He's always down for a good time.
The captain of your Ottawa Senators, Brady
Yes.
Tkachuk. He'll be on a line tonight with Tim Stützle and Adam Gaudette. You mentioned a lot of interesting notes from today's morning skate. So let's just pull up the lines right now because there's a lot of moving parts, and then we'll get into the preview later on in the game. We've got a prospect roundup. Belleville continued their way too busy schedule. Like, they are making the Sens schedule look like nothing. And we should mention the Sens actually have the rest of the week off until Saturday when they're playing a rejuvenated Montreal Canadiens team. And unfortunate, we didn't get to beat them down when they were really at their worst this year. It's the first meeting between Ottawa and Montreal, but we got the rest of the week to preview that game. Tonight's game, however, and stick taps and congratulations to Matt Murray. He's missing tonight's game, not due to injury, as many predicted when Gus got sent down on the weekend. Oh, Murray's back. Well, he and his wife, Christina, have welcomed a new baby into the world. So congratulations. Certainly a good reason to miss tonight's game. So Anton Forsberg gets the start. Kid's been red hot over his past 17 games. How's that for a sample size? A .930 save percentage over that stretch. He's 10-8-2 on the year, a .278 goals against average, and a .916 save percentage. On defense, we already mentioned Chabot and Zub. Oh, that looks so good to see. Nick Holden, though, he's like, hey, where's my guy? Now he's got Nikita Zaitsev on his right side. The third pair, Brandstrom and Josh Brown, will continue to play alongside one another. Up front, Stützle, Tkachuk, Gaudette, Paul, Sanford, and Connor Brown. Third line, I've got an asterisk here because Gambrell missed the morning skate. He tweaked something, won't play tonight. Mark Kaslick has been called up from Belleville. He's got goals in three of his last 4 games for the Baby Sens. He'll be in a familiar position beside Parker Kelly. And then Austin Watson finishes out that trio. The fourth line, quote unquote fourth line. I think this might be 3B, we'll call it, between that, because you know DJ Smith loves the Kaslick, Kelly, Watson combo. But Tierney, Formanton, and Tyler Ennis will wrap up the Sens forward core. Injuries, still Batherson, still Norris, still White, still Pinto, and then you can add Dylan Gambrell onto that list. I put Murray as the extra here as he will not be available tonight. Gus will back up for Anton Forsberg. Pilsy, what is most notable to you about this formation?
Just a couple quick notes. The irony of Matt Murray having a child on family day, I feel like that works out pretty nicely. You add to your family day there. And you mentioned Josh Norris is injured. However, he was on the ice skating, so that's a massive boost. And Colin White, he was taking line rushes while Dylan Gambrell had to leave with a little injury in morning skates. So it's good to see him at least getting in there, and hopefully his target was this game up against Montreal. So that's next game, really. So he's real close. You love to see that. And I think the biggest thing that I'm looking at from these lineups, Ross, is how nice is it to see Chabot with Zub? Like, I know we already talked about that, but like, we don't get our bona fide number one forward line, but at least we get it on defense. And I think you got to give a bit of credit to Zaitsev, because him and Holden have been doing well. Sure, Zaitsev still has had a couple penalties you don't love, but I thought he played very well defensively last game. And I think that's allowed DJ Smith to trust him with Holden. Also got to give stick taps to Holden. He's elevated his game, and that's allowed him to use Chabot and Zub together on a pair. So that's going to be dynamite tonight.
I'm so excited for a Senators game against a team. I think I've been quoted recently, ever since we had this whole weird thing where Pierre Dorion follows around the Minnesota Wild, but that is the DNA of a team that you would like to recreate. Their third line is so heavy. Their entire team, they play big. It's going to be a huge test tonight for the Senators. And I think that you've not only got that heavy, hardworking DNA, but you also have a superstar in Kirill Kaprizov. Like, that kid is unbelievable. I'm very excited to see him live tonight, or at least watch him on TV. I'm excited for the fans, though, who will get to go in to the CTC tonight, and we need a better crowd than the weekend. Now, I know lots going on outside the arena in Ottawa these past couple weeks, but let's pack the barn here as we can. And Pilsy and I are going to get to Ottawa as soon as we can and make sure that happens. All right, Pils, we got lots of more notes to get to and the full preview of tonight's game. But I think you've got an ad here first.
Yes, it's our good friends at BetOnline.net, the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. Guys, football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for pro, and March Madness is coming up. So everybody, you got to be an expert in college hoops once again for the next 4 to 5 weeks, because you want to get in on the action. For all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net has it all. It's the best spot for all your sports scores, your podcasts, and news this season. It's not just basketball. Come on, guys. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, obviously. Boxing, UFC, they've got it all. Head to the website today, betonline.net, and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline.net, where the game starts.
All right, Pilsy, where do you want to go from here? Do you want to start with the junior circuit, the Belleville Senators, or what?
Let's go Belleville Senators. I like wrapping up with the preview so that it's fresh in everyone's mind right before the game.
Exactly. So they had a family day affair against the Syracuse Crunch, and it was an old friend, kind of, who really dominated against them.
Ross, I'm glad I didn't say this out loud. Officially, I am the biggest mush in betting. I thought Belleville would have a struggle up against the Marlies. They win both games. I thought they would easily beat the Syracuse Crunch. They get absolutely pummeled. And like you mentioned, an old friend, Gabriel Dumont, their leading scorer, got a hattie up against the Belleville Sens with the Syracuse Crunch. That was tough. It was not a good game for Mads Sogard as he let in all 6 goals. Gustafsson had to come in for relief, and the goals weren't exactly great ones either, so a bit of a tough night from there. But if you're looking for a silver lining, Andrew Agozzino, he's been hot lately, Ross. He had a goal and an assist, and in his last 6 games, 8 points. So that's been a nice story. Sokolov obviously got on the score sheet. Ho-hum, we know what he does. And I'm hoping for some better results tonight, although it's tough when now Gus has been called up and Mark Kaslik has been called up. So they only get weaker on the second half of a back-to-back game.
Little reinforcement on the back end, however. Dylan Hetherington was just reassigned there, so he'll rejoin that team. We need to give some stick taps as well. I don't think we've done it enough to Lassie Thompson and what he's quietly been bringing down in Belleville. We know that he made an impact in Ottawa. However, the numbers weren't there, especially. However, when you look at what he's done here, 16 points in 21 games, including 6 goals in Belleville. He's already got 3 more points than he had in all of last year in the AHL, and he did it in 16 less games. So I'm excited to watch his development here as we move along forward. No points yesterday for him, but he did have 6 assists in his last 3 games, and he was on a 5-game point streak that saw him get 7 points over that stretch. So real exciting times for Lassie Thompson and Igor Sokolov, who has points in 7 of his last 8. So the guys who you want to see producing are doing just that for the AHL. So really fired up about that.
Just one note though, Ross, the reason they lost the game, and I forgot to mention this, no Uncle Deli. I'm not sure what the story was there, if he was injured.
Closing a deal?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly, but that was something I noticed. And when you look on the score sheet and he doesn't have a goal and 2 assists, there's a reason why you lose the game right there. So that's tough for the Belleville Senators.
Yeah, and when I say closing a deal, I don't mean that he's about to get traded.
No, a condo in Florida.
Exactly. Just that 2-point night for Zach Leslie, a career AHLer, but you like to shout those guys out when they put up a good effort. And maybe not the best goaltending in yesterday's game. What'd you think? You said you watched the entire one start to finish. 6 goals on Mads, and I heard a few of them were upstairs glove side.
Yeah, definitely. And, the Crunch, they really dominated this game. They outshot Belleville 40-30. So I'm not going to put all this on Mads, but 6 goals against, and allowing a guy like Gabriel Dumont, no offense, but allowing him to just walk all over you as a team for Belleville was not a good look.
Yeah, fair enough. Gus actually finished the game, played the last 17 minutes. So have a weekend, Gus. Honestly, plays a game for the Ottawa Senators, gets sent down, plays a period for Belleville, and then he's right back up somewhat unexpectedly to Ottawa.
And this is what I'm talking about with Gustafsson. Like, he just never is just in a chill, normal situation. It's always something crazy. We talked about him having to wear Forsberg's equipment for warm-ups. Like, this guy has been through the ringer. So when you're looking at his stats and maybe he hasn't been able to string along some consistent numbers, take that with a grain of salt that there's a lot going on for this guy.
Yes, 100%. Oh, man, I'm already starting to think about tonight's game. We'll get into that a little more. Before we reach that point, though, how about some Tyler Boucher love? The kid was all over the ice yesterday. It was a free game on OHL TV. I got to watch all of it. And what I love most is he always seems to be in the right spot. And that's exactly where he was when he got his first OHL goal. And it was the only goal in a 7-1 loss.
Yeah, newsflash, guys, the Kingston Frontenacs are good. Levi Marilainen, not bad. And Ben Roger even got in a little scrap
Big
there.
scrap.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're a Sens fan, that was a game to watch. I was dialed in on Belleville, and we had we split up our boots on the ground scouting, right? So we got a taste of all prospects going around. And hey, if you're looking for content on Tyler Boucher, you gotta head to @LeamsMartian on Twitter. This guy, he's Boucher's #1 fan, and I think you're not going to get any more content than you want from him.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, shout out Sens Talk too. He's got boots on the ground at the Civic Center as well. But Martian is going above and beyond to make sure everyone knows he is the biggest Tyler Boucher guy. And buy your stocks now. Like, why wouldn't you? Because they are penny stocks and they are only going up in a hurry. He finishes every single check. I see him on the line with Ridley Gregg here in the future one day as like a third line, kind of like
Formanton. Oh my God, that'd be great.
We'll get to what the Minnesota Wild's third line looks like, but it would be a little bit of that.
Just a little smaller.
I mean, Boucher's a big kid, but yeah, those guys in Minnesota.
Those guys are extra big guys, yeah.
Yeah, no question. So, hey, with respect to Tyler Boucher, there's still a long road ahead this year. 21 games plus. We'll see. The 6-7s, I'm not sure if they're going to make the playoffs or not. We'll see going forward. But could he be a guy that maybe steps up and plays a few games in the AHL at the end of the year? Who knows? That's a story for another day. First, Belleville needs to get their act together. They're right on the cusp of playoffs. So we'll see if they can jump in. If they can, I actually want to ask you this now. Shane Pinto, is he a guy who you'd want to see in Belleville at the end of the year? Because the more that he misses time, the more I think it's a no-brainer that he should go and just play as many games at the end of this year as he can.
I'd be down for that for sure. Especially, we talk about it all the time. To get these prospects playing in meaningful games together, building chemistry, developing is so huge. And, Shane Pinto looked good in the NHL. We got to give him that, but small sample size, and his face-offs weren't able to transition from college to the NHL. So a midway point is the AHL. Let's get him some good experience in the face-off dot up against other pros. I think it's a great idea, and Ottawa's not really in a position to be going for the playoffs here, and you want to give Colin White as much shine as you can too. So I think that would make a lot of sense, and I think it'd be a good move for Pinto.
Not only he, but you'd expect Angus Crookshank will rejoin Belleville whenever he can. And the season's going to run until the end of April. So he does have some time to get back. And then you're hopeful that Belleville's in a situation for playoffs. Now, the other guy would be Jake Sanderson. And for him, obviously, you want to get him into as many games with Ottawa. And I don't even know if he could point to Belleville on a map. But by that same token, again, the more games, the better, especially with how many games have been lost over the last year and a half or 2 years now. It's just an absolute benefit to play as many games. So I would even be of the mind that Jake Sanderson, we saw that, you know who comes to mind? Zach Werenski, who went down after he finished college. He went to Lake Erie or whatever the Monsters.
Lake Erie Monsters, yep.
Whatever, Cleveland Monsters. Whatever.
Oh, Cleveland Monsters. They're all.
They switched it all up. Columbus's farm team. And he has an MVP-like performance in the playoffs. And then, well, we know the rest is history when it comes to how he stepped in to the NHL. So lots to keep rolling here with Senators prospects as we lead in to the most important time of the season, after trade deadline. That's when it really becomes development style when you're out of the playoffs. But Pierre Dorion has been on record saying they want things set more or less going into next season by the end of trade deadline, so you can get some familiarity. I'm not sure if I buy the whole momentum carries over from one season to a next after you go your separate ways for 4 months. Where do you stand on that?
I think there's some merit to it, but I mean, it's funny to say that because I don't really have proof to back up my argument.
Otherwise.
Yeah, that's the thing. But there was a lot of unforeseen circumstances that caused that, right? Like Crooker going down, Pinto still struggling with injury, White going down. So I think that's fair that happened, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Like if you wanted to flip it, like going into the end of the season on a low note definitely can't be a good thing. So I think it'd be nice to get a boost, to get guys feeling good going into the summer, and we'll go from there.
So the Belleville Senators are facing Syracuse again. Syracuse just jumped over Belleville again in the standings with that win yesterday. So huge points on the line tonight in Belleville, and an exciting game in Ottawa. Let's touch on that. A reminder that you can download Locked On Senators wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available, and we appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. Episode 1 was all the way back on November 9th of 2019. Since then, we've done 499 more. It's the 500th episode of Locked On Senators. And a reminder that you can advertise with the Locked On Senators podcast. You can shoot us a DM on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators, or you can contact us through our YouTube page. We'd love if you'd subscribe on YouTube as well. And why not join us for the postcast? We'll be live tonight. Senators game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Usually we go live about 15, 20 minutes after the final buzzer. So that game tonight, Pilsy, it's the Ottawa Senators who have really done well staying above 500 since December. It's been tough. We know November, it was a complete gong show. But since then, and especially with losing Chabot and Murray on top of the injuries that we don't have to regroup again and again, still a 4-4-1 record since the All-Star game. On the season, they have 18 wins, 26 losses, 5 OT losses in 49 games. What do they have to do to make that 19 wins tonight?
Well, if we're heading right into keys to victory, this team is just so damn deep. We talked about it. They've got size, they've got skill, they've got veteran defensemen, they're getting good goaltending. The one thing, Ross, that I was able to find out, and I feel like this has been like my niche thing lately, which I'm going to keep following here. The Ottawa Senators are 26th overall in the league in face-off percentage, Ross.
Whoa.
The Minnesota Wild are 27th. So the Ottawa Senators, the only thing I could find that they have an advantage over the Wild is face-offs. And That's because there's a lot of younger centermen over in Minnesota too that are struggling right now, and the bottom six guys are doing much better in face-off percentage than the top six guys. So that bodes well for Tim Stützle. That bodes well for Nick Paul. Hopefully, they can dominate that battle, because especially on the power play, if you let that power play unit, if you let them go, I'm just pulling up the top power play unit here, Ross: Zuccarello, Eriksson Ek, Boldy, Spurgeon, and Kaprizov. If you let them win the faceoff and set it up and start cycling the puck, it's going to be tough sledding from there.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to extend that and say you got to focus defense first tonight. If you're the Senators, do not get in a track meet with them. We know they can grind down low, but they also have the third most goals per game in the National Hockey League. And you combine that with their deadly first unit on the power play, although you could probably say that they'd expect more from their power play. Middle of the pack in terms of league standing, 13th so far this season, but they just can score in bunches. It's a different guy every night. We'll get to our lookout players, but they've got a wide variety of guys who can beat you, and I think that makes the team even more dangerous, because on the rare occasion that Kirill Kaprizov isn't going in a particular night, well, all of a sudden you've got Fiala's line that can put pucks in the net. This Matt Boldy kid has just come out like a house on fire in his NHL career. He's already at a point per game through 16 games, Pillsy. Like, he's a guy, he's not my lookout player, but he's certainly a guy who you have to be aware of when he's on the ice. He's got, 8 goals, 8 assists in 16 games. So it's not like he's getting secondary assists. He's got 8 goals in 16 games. It's super impressive for him as well. They activate their D-core as well. They're led by their captain, Jared Spurgeon.
It's such good skaters on defense, eh? When you look at Spurgeon, Brodin, and Dumba, like, man.
Yeah, no Dumba tonight though. He's out with injury, lower body injury. He's expected to miss the next couple weeks of action. But yeah, how about the resurgence of Alex Goligoski at 36 years old? He's got 25 points and he's a plus 26 in 42 games. So they've just got all these guys stepping up, but they're led by that pair of Brodin and Spurgeon, both averaging over 21 minutes a game up front. Like, again, it's these guys that kind of came out of nowhere. Like, Ryan Hartman was traded, and when he was traded for a first-round pick from Chicago to Nashville, everyone was like, what, him? Well, looks like those scouts, maybe they didn't figure it out right away, because after the trade, he had 6 points in 21 games, 26 points the next year, only 20 and 64, and was traded to Philly. It just wasn't working. Even his first 2 years in Minnesota, he's a 20-point guy. And now he's got 36 and 47. Like, he has just come out and really dominated and become their number one center. Now, how much of that is a reaction of getting to play alongside a talent like Kaprizov and Zuccarello, two guys who have been around for a long time? Who knows? But you can look up and down this lineup and you can see in a hurry why they're so successful. So let's run through their lineup real quick, and I'll get your take and your lookout player. We'll move on to that. It's Ryan Hartman between Kaprizov and Zuccarello. The second line, Frederick Gauthier between Kevin Fiala and Matthew Boldy. The third line, Joel Eriksson Ek between Jordan Greenway and Marcus Foligno. In the fourth line, Nick Bukestad between Connor Dewar and Duhamel as well. On defense, it's Goligoski and Spurgeon. It's Brodin and Kulikov, and it's John Merrill with Kalen Addison, another good young player, in goal. Starting, it's Cam Talbot. The Minnesota Wild are 31, 13, and 3 on the season. They're 7 and 10 in their last 10 games, and Kaprizov leads these guys with 62 points in 46 games.
Yeah, Kaprizov is an absolute animal, and he's not my lookout player either, but just to tack on to your Ryan Hartman discussion, Ross, I think he might have one of the best contracts in the entire league right now, team friendly. 3-year deal, 1.7 mil.
Wow.
Woo!
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you could even say that about Kaprizov. Now, Kaprizov got paid for sure. Yeah. Kaprizov's also tied with Alex Ovechkin in points this year. Yeah. He's played 4 less games. They
got him on a good deal. That's
in the
true.
Same amount of games here. This is probably a better comparison for people in the region that we get the most listens in. Kirill Kaprizov, in the same amount of games, has 3 more points than Austin Matthews. Let that sink in.
Yeah,
he's played 100 games in the NHL, more than a point per game. Unreal talent.
He's good, that's for sure. Yeah, so you're looking at these lines, and there's a lot of depth here. And that third line, wow. Greenway, Eriksson, Ek, and Foligno. That's going to be a big task for, it's obviously going to be Kelly, Sanford, and probably Kastelic is going to be centering those guys. So they're going to have a tough assignment there.
Well, we'll see, because remember they moved Sanford up to play with Paul and Connor Brown. So maybe they try that. But who are you putting up against? Who are you putting up against Hartman, Kaprizov, and Zuccarello? Like, to me, this is a tough matchup for Ottawa any way you slice it.
Honestly, yeah, I would probably go the Stützle, Brady, Gaudette line up against them. I think that makes the most sense.
Okay, good luck to the Senators tonight.
Honestly,
who's your lookout player on this team?
So my lookout player is going to be Kevin Fiala, and this is the guy that is on everyone's kind of radar. Maybe why Pierre Dorion has been scouting this team so hard. And Ross, when it first came to light that he was a guy that's rumored, I was kind of lukewarm about it, but after looking through his stats and kind of tinkering around with it a little bit more, I think it makes a lot of sense. And the Wild situation is much worse than I thought. Like, we talked about it last time they played,
Yep.
but Ross, in 2022-23, it's $12 million in dead cap from those two guys, Parise and Suter I'm talking about. That's an $8 million jump from this year. So $8 million will no longer be available to this team. They can't afford to sign guys like Kevin Fiala. And I'm sure they're going to want to bring Goligoski back, probably just 1 year at a lower price tag, but he's also making right now $5 million. So he's not going to take that big of a pay cut. So they need to get value for Fiala, even though they probably don't want to do it right now. Eventually they're going to have to. So I'm really interested in him. And he has been red hot lately. I mean, literally just last game up against the Oilers, 2 goals, 1 assist. His last 18 games, 22 points. Like, he is absolutely on fire. So he's going to be my lookout player, because I want to get a sense of, could this be the guy that fills that right wing slot to play with Tim Stützle? And judging by his numbers, he's a 20 goal scorer. He gets 40 points every season. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Any worry that he's potentially rumored to be on his third team and he's 25 years old?
I mean, it's not great, but you look at a guy like Duclair, similar situation, but turned up to the max. He was on like 7 teams at that age. And now he's finally found a home. He's found the proper contract, and look at him go, right? So I think if you can get him on a good deal with this, has got to be his last year as an RFA, no?
Yeah. And the qualifying offer is going to have to be, I believe, 5.5 million on the qualifying offer.
Yeah, so it's going to be a price tag, but if you can lock him up at a decent deal, I think he could be worth it. Now, do you want to bring in a guy who's rumored to maybe not be the best in the locker room in a culture that's absolutely thriving? Maybe not, but I think if anyone can turn him around or make him feel more comfortable, it's these guys. So I'm really interested in the Kevin Fiala trade, especially knowing that the Minnesota Wild need it. And just to kind of tack on to what I was saying, then the year after is 14 mil. It's 14.7 mil. And then the year after is 14.7 mil in dead cap again. Like, that is mind-boggling to think of. That's like 2 top players you cannot have in your lineup anymore if you give them each like 7.5 mil. So they have to figure it out, and they can't afford to sign Kevin Fiala. There's just no way.
But there's also no way they're trading him at the deadline, Pilsy. They're in a position where they're competing this year. Why would they move a guy who's got 40 points in 47 games? It would just be such a mind-bending move, unless, what if they get plus, but a guy like Connor Brown is going back, a guy who can slot in to a team's top 6, top 9 type role.
Yeah, that's something that I thought of. I'm not so convinced they're going to trade him at the deadline, but more maybe in the offseason. But also, the fact that Nick Paul's not signed means a lot. Like, I think the Ottawa Senators are very seriously looking at their options. Yeah, that's the thing. They're running out of time. So obviously, they have offers on the table that they're interested in. And I actually think it makes more sense for the Wild to acquire Nick Paul over Connor Brown, because they can get him at a cheaper deal longer term, and that would really help out their bottom 6. So that's the guy I'm looking at. That would be a big piece in the Fiala trade if and when it happens.
I want to hold on to these 2 guys, Connor Brown and Nick Paul. They're such good pros.
I prioritize Connor Brown, though.
Yeah, me too, 100%. It doesn't give you any pause for thought. Connor Brown's going to be going into his 30-year-old year next year, and will be on the last year of his contract.
the Senators need veterans on this team. They can't just, as soon as a guy ages out, they're like, well, we're going to replace you for a younger contract. You can't keep doing that. We talked with Locked On Rangers about the Zibanejad trade. That's exactly what they were doing. Well, kind of the flip version there, just a contract-wise, the ages are flipped. But you can't keep moving guys just because they're getting older or getting bigger contracts. Eventually, they got to start winning games, and you have to prioritize having good veterans that can take you deep in Stanley Cup playoff runs.
And you don't have to look further than this Minnesota Wild roster. People were shaking their head when they gave Matt Zuccarello the contract they did.
I was one of them, not going to lie.
Yeah, at 34 years old. Now he's got 52 points in 41 games. Egg on everyone's face there, no question. You certainly need guys on the other side of 30. I think Connor Brown should grow with this Sens team. And tonight, we'll get to see him back to normal. The chin guard is off for Connor Brown. You mentioned earlier Josh Norris back at practice. So there are things to look forward to for the Ottawa Senators tonight. And my lookout player before we move on to that is Cam Talbot. Why not Cam Talbot? And the reason I smile when I say this, maybe not the sexiest name on this Minnesota Wild team. There's certainly other guys who I will be looking out for as well. Matt Boldy, Jordan Greenway, all these guys. But I'm just happy the Sens are getting to play against a starting goalie. And I looked at the schedule, and Minnesota isn't even going to Montreal. I figured it was like, okay, now Montreal gets the backups now. But it's a weird schedule for Minnesota. They went to Edmonton, then to Ottawa, then to Toronto. So they're coming west to east here with just one day off in between. So they probably just figure, hey, let's get Cam Talbot in, get him another game. He's played 8 times against Ottawa and has 5 wins already. So I'm excited to see how Ottawa will handle going up against Cam Talbot in goal. And I think the most difficult part is going to be to continue to put pressure on the Minnesota D-corps. You mentioned they skate so well. So not only that, but Cam Talbot, pretty good puck handler as well. So watch for him to be able to dish the rock out left, right, and
no
get
goalie
the breakout
goal, though.
started. No, can't even handle it getting that close again.
Okay, good. I thought that's what you were getting at.
No. Hard no. All right, Pilsy, who's your locked on player?
My locked on player is going to be Alex Formenton. It's kind of seemed like he's been sleepy lately, and I don't know if this is just a crazy theory, but I really think they're putting Sanford up the lineup. They're trying to showcase him for the deadline. And if you're looking at Alex Formenton, I feel like the Sens now understand his full potential. And Ross, you can tell me if you think I'm crazy, but is it that wild to think that maybe they're thinking of putting him lower in the lineup to lower his contract value?
No,
like, am I crazy?
No. Yeah, you're crazy.
like just for the time being, let's pump up Sanford. Let's keep Formenton down here because he's been playing farther and farther on the lineup once again. And Ross, you mentioned it. That second power play unit is atrocious. Why is Tierney on that unit, and why isn't a guy like Alex Formenton? Like, why? There's so many questions. Nick Paul is another guy. I would rather have Alex Formenton there. So I'm going to be locked on to him to see how he's doing and just keeping an eye on his ice time as we go forward here.
Yeah, he had a couple games at the start of February that allowed his average to stay high because he's actually averaging more ice time this month in the 10 games than he has in any month this season. It's been
what about the last couple, like 3 or 4?
Yeah, in the last 3 games, down a little bit for sure. Definitely under that average. 15-52 against Buffalo, 14-31 against Boston. He was a -3 in that game as well. And then he played 15-23. So certainly less. Like against Washington, he played almost 20 minutes. He played 19-18. So it's been up and down for sure. But yeah, there was that stretch there from right after the All-Star break up until the game against Buffalo where he was averaging over 18 minutes. Yeah. But in his last 3, yeah, you're right. He's down 3 or 4 minutes per game in his last 3. So we'll see. Maybe that is a call from upstairs. Hey, let's see what kind of value we can get Sanford up to. But on the flip side, if he doesn't play well, you're just losing value by showing off
Honestly,
off Zach Sanford even more. My locked on player tonight, and I'm going to keep doing it until he doesn't score because now he's got goals in 3 of his last 4 games. It's Tim Stützle. How can it not be? He's got a huge test against, if he goes up against Hartman tonight, that's a guy who's a shutdown center. All of their centers, like Freddie Gauthier, defensive-minded center. Joel Eriksson-Ek, defensive-minded center. We've seen him go up against some big guys right now. He's gone head-to-head against some great players, but these guys are stingy and they're not going to allow much. And I want to see Timmy use his speed and create for himself out there. So I got Tim Stützle here as my Locked On Player, a guy who's now over 100 games in his career. And since he turned 20 years old, we've seen like just a little extra something in his game now. 11 points in 19 games since turning 20 years old. And I'm hopeful that he can continue. He's got goals in back-to-back games, like I mentioned, and he's been playing more and more throughout the season too. So I'm locked on Tim Stützle tonight. I think that he might set up Adam Gaudette for one tonight. I think he might. Now, DJ Smith was a little hard on Gaudette in this morning's press conference, saying he wants me to be honest with him. It doesn't mean I don't care about the person. Almost like he's saying he doesn't like the player, even though he's contributing point after point after point. So you know what? Gaudette's going to go out there tonight, and he's going to get one. So that's my Levy lock tonight is Adam Gaudette goal.
I like it. And hey, I've already prefaced that I'm a mush on the Sens and gambling lately. But Ross, just strictly looking at the numbers, if you're looking to place a bet on this game, I would look at the over, because here are their last 4 games for the Wild. 7-4 up against the Red Wings, 11 total. 6-3 with the Jets, 9 total. 6-2 with the Panthers, 8 total. 7-3 up against the Oilers, 10 total. You getting what I'm saying here? And if you look at the last time these two teams played, a 5-4 OT win, so 9 total. So check out that over at betonline.net, or if you're smart, probably hit the under if I'm suggesting.
We had people asking, they want to look back at all of Pilsey's parlays. Which one do you regret most?
You know what is so funny? At the start of this season, I was like, I'm going to start keeping track. Like, I want to keep track of like all the bets I made, how much money I'm up and down. Ross, I did that for 6 straight losses and decided, this is not good for my mental health. So I'm not going to keep track anymore. I feel like, honestly, just so many of them were bad. I can't even remember. It's been so long since I've tried one that I can't remember them. But there have been some terrible ones. So for that, I apologize, guys.
I also heard you want to flip the script and that you have a trivia question for me today.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you remembered this. Yes, I do have a trivia question for you, Ross. Here we go. In honor of our 500th episode, Ross, can you name the 9 players in Ottawa Senators history with over 500 penalty minutes?
Whoa, okay. I think I probably can get a few.
You can get 5 pretty quickly, I think.
Chris Neal.
2,522.
500 penalty minutes?
Yeah.
Chris Phillips will be on there.
He is. You've got 1 and 2 right now.
Okay. Alfie?
Alfie is 9th with 500 on the dot.
Yeah, he played so many games. I'm kind of going that way. Like,
that's the way to do it.
Mike Fisher?
He is 7th with 554.
Okay. Now I'm going to get into some tough guys. Denny Vial?
Nice. Yep, 625.
Okay. Andre Wad, did he play long enough?
I'm only looking at the top 10 here, and he is not on it.
Okay, probably. Yeah, he only played.
Yeah, he didn't play long enough.
2 or 3 years. Brian McGrattan, of course.
No.
What?
Not on here. Time with the Senators. Time with the Senators, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but still.
He might have been close, but I don't see him here.
Yeah, he didn't play enough games. You got to think of those like grinded out guys who probably sat more. Like Wade Redden has so many games.
Wade Redden's on there. That's the guy I was just going to say might be a tough one to guess, but he is on there with 576.
Jason Spezza?
Nope.
Spezza has the most penalty minutes in a single game in franchise history.
Yeah, true. So that should help out.
That's why I threw him in the mix there. All right. So
I think you're only missing 4 now. Yeah, you're only missing 4.
Chara?
Chara is tied with Fisher. Yep.
Okay. Lots of big fights for.
So now you're missing 2 and 3 in minutes.
2 and
3 and 4. Sorry, 3 and 4. Sorry.
Yeah, because you said I got Phillips and Nealer 1-2.
You got it. Yep.
So 3 and 4. Wow.
These are actually obvious ones.
They're obvious ones. Everyone else, they're smashing their steering wheel, driving down Lansdowne right now.
I'll let you squirm a little more, then I'll give you a clue here.
Yeah, I am squirming a little bit now. Like Patty Lalime was even in a few fights. I'm sure he's not there, but he's got to be close. There. But a few fights for sure, and a couple whacks in front.
One of them was
don't get.
Oh, okay.
No clips just yet. Is it like a mid 90s like scrapper?
No, it's our generation Sens.
Really? Okay. I'm gonna need a hint.
Both of them are.
I'm gonna need a hint.
One of them was dubbed a Senator for life. However, he just signed somewhere else.
Mark Borowiecki, of course. That makes sense.
So now you're missing just 1.
Okay. and it's our generation.
Yeah.
Like in the last, did they play for the Senators in the last 5 years?
Yes.
Were they on the 2017 team?
Yes.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
This is tough. And he's number 3 or 4?
3. Played a lot of games for the Sens.
Oh my God. Oh, Chris Kelly?
No. Good try though. Good try.
I'm stumped.
Smitty.
Oh, I should have got that.
Yeah.
That's brutal. But hey, good trivia question. I will finish up. See that? We would have cut 5.
Yeah, now you just
100
get to enjoy
episodes.
it.
Now just enjoy it. A little word vomit there. How can you name all the Senators with over 500 points?
This is pretty biased because I'm looking at, I'm literally on the page right now.
Okay, well, why don't you close the page and I'm going to switch up the question.
Okay.
How many Ottawa Senators have
There.
over
Page is closed.
I need it to be 500, right?
Yeah, that's why I went for penalty minutes. There's not a whole lot of other 500 numbers for this franchise, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad. Okay, well, why don't we change it to over... I'm having trouble even just finding one. I might let you off the hook here. You know what? Goalie-friendly show. Can you name the top 5 goalies in playoff wins for the Ottawa Senators?
Well, Andy, obviously. Patty Aleem, Ray Emery. Oh, man, this is where it gets tough.
I'm not going to help you out.
Hammond didn't win hardly any games. Jeez.
No.
Hasek was not there.
So, it's funny. You had the 3 guys who have won 42, 60 of their about 71 wins in the playoffs are those 3 goalies right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's so hard for now. Did Martin Gerber play in the playoffs for the Sens?
Martin Gerber played 4 games and had 0 wins.
Oh, darn. Okay.
0-4.
Sheesh.
If my trivia question was who played the most games for Senators in playoff history without winning a game, Martin Gerber would have been the correct answer.
I think I'm stumped here. I mean, we just talked about how we don't edit, so you don't want to hear me hum and haw.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Okay, I'll just give it to you. So Craig Anderson and Patty Aleem are actually tied with 21.
Oh, wow.
Ray Emery has 18. Damian Rhodes has 5.
Should have got that.
Ron Tugnut has 3.
I thought about Tugnut. Yeah.
Tom Barrasso has 2. And then Pascal Leclerc and Brian Elliott both have 1.
Pascal Leclerc. Wow.
Yeah, a little trivia to finish off the show. Hey, we appreciate everyone for listening. Like I said off the top, if you're new to listening to the show, if it's your first time, we appreciate you just as much as the ones who have been grinding it out with us day in and day out for all 500. You got a final message for everyone here today, Pilsy?
There's going to be 500 more. So if you missed the first 500, well, strap in because it's your team every day.
It's your team every day. Hey, shoot us a message on Twitter at Sens Central. We're going to get back to our Sens Central citizens. It's been long overdue.
Yes,
it's been
absolutely.
busy for us. We always make sure we get the show out, but just in terms of the behind the scenes, trying to figure it all out. And if you want a big interview like we wanted to give you for episode 500, you can go listen to our episode with Thomas Chabot as he is about to play his 300th NHL game. We hope, but he's not going to play morning skate and be a game time decision. He's playing.
All signs point to him playing. Yeah, like people aren't even talking about the consideration that he might not play tonight. Like I think it's going to happen.
And well, they're playing against a very tough opponent. So follow us on Twitter at Sens Central for up to the minute stats, news, analysis, and then we'll see you in the postcast after tonight's game. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.